Mhm. Good morning. Yeah, I see the time. One of those nights where I laid down for a little bit of an evening nap around between 8 and 8:30 and ended up not waking up till actually it was not quite midnight. And then I think I dozed back off for a short time and then actually got out of bed before it was even 1 o'clock. So here I am at 2:22 doing my video for the day. And I'll probably go back to bed when I'm finished. And no probablys about it. Today's title is 2012, When the Bible Does Not Make Sense. Yesterday I was introduced to the work of Bill Donahue from Forked River, New Jersey. I probably met him in 1982. However, I did not know him then. I must admit that he is the first Bible expositor that I can relate to since my mentor, Dr. Bruce Morgan. He sees the Bible as a mystic, not as a fundamentalist. That makes his message liberating rather than imprisoning. And I will include his link to his YouTube page. He has a YouTube page called, Hidden Meanings. And I watched, I think, 5 of his videos yesterday, and some of them are almost an hour long. Actually, some of them are over an hour long, but I didn't look at that. I think I looked at the one Revelation Synagogue of Satan. I looked at the one Revelation Four Horses of the Apocalypse. I watched the one Hail Saint Devil, Christianity from Ancient Cults, and Easter, Sex, Bunnies, Bonnets, and Bibles. um, I think those are the 5 that I listened to yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But he has, how many videos does he have? 316, so not as many as me, but he's up there and he's a fascinating expositor. Now let me say something about, he was a fundamentalist preacher. And he's still a preacher. See, I've never been officially a preacher. I've never officially had what is recognized as a church, although I have a spiritual center. I don't have church services in the sense that most people think of church services. There's no liturgy, there's no dogma, it's a totally free thing where we explore ideas. But what strikes me about Bill Donahue is the same thing that struck me way back when I was a fundamentalist Christian about Bruce Morgan. He didn't talk about the Bible as a law book and a book of dogma, doctrine, and rules. It wasn't about that. It was about finding the hidden meaning and finding the Christ or the divine in you personally. And that was the liberating message that began me on my quest to explore more deeply the spiritual truths in our world, not just in books, but in religions and in everything. In everything I was trained, that isn't even the right word, I was led to explore human life. And Dr. Bruce Morgan, who passed away, about 5 or 6 years ago now, I'm guessing. I can't remember exactly when it was. But anyway, he was the one who said the most important thing was going outside the camp or outside the institution in order to find the living Christ. That the living Christ was in you. not in an organization or an institution or a building, or even not, and certainly not in a book. And when we look at the Bible as a book of rules and a book of doctrines and a book that talks about God without knowing God, I mean, it's a book that distorts the divinity. I mean, it absolutely is a distortion of divinity. It has God commanding the murder of women and children and animals and desecrating populations in the Old Testament. I mean, it paints an image of God that is horrendously distorted. And as Bill points out, even the New Testament idea that that God's plan of salvation requires the death of his only begotten Son is ludicrous. I'm saying you've got to go and listen to what he's saying, because he puts the Bible in a mystical perspective. That when you hear the message and you allow it to penetrate the thick shell of your heart, it'll melt you. Now, I could not, when I first met Bill Donahue, back when I went to hear Bruce Morgan at Bill's church back in probably 1982. If he was saying some of the things then that I listened to yesterday, I would have thought the guy was off his rocker. I mean, I didn't have the experience at that time to even relate to what he was saying. Now, let me just, I got to go back in what I've already deleted. See if I can find it. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Where was that it? No. Wait a minute. I know it was Unite the Collective. Maybe I didn't delete it. Maybe I left it in there. Oh, I did leave it in there. I'm in a group called Unite the Collective. One of probably 50 or 60 groups that I've been added to since I started doing my videos. Anyway, Devon Harris had an interesting comment. Try to tell me that super highly intelligent beings aren't real is exactly like trying to convince me that God and Jesus don't exist. I don't have time for your skeptical bullcrap and criticism anymore. You don't know what I know. You haven't experienced what I experienced. You don't believe what I believe. And every human being on Gaia, Earth, right now knows that without true knowledge, you know absolutely nothing. Ignorance equals a lack of knowledge. Logic and uncommon sense alone is dead. You know that you can't survive without reason, and you know it. Truth is truth. The light is way faster than the speed of darkness, because when the light approaches darkness, it has no choice but to surrender itself to the light. And half the time, what you think is the truth isn't the truth. It's just plain old common sense. It just took you a while to use some common sense, fool. Yeah, now marinate on that stuff for a minute. Peace. That's the difference between a mystic and a fundamentalist. You don't know what I know. You don't know what I've experienced. A fundamentalist measures everything by what they think they know. But like God said to me one time, you don't know enough to judge another, and if you did, you wouldn't. When we go around, as I used to when I was a young Christian, trying to convince everybody what I knew was the truth, I was clueless. I was clueless. And one of the things that woke me up early on was at a Jesus rally, a festival one time, when some young teenage Christian walked up to me and asked me, "Are you saved?" I mean, I was one of the organizers of the meeting, and I found that insulting. What do you mean, am I saved? I'm one of the organizers, for God's sake. But that got me thinking. Was I doing that to people too? Thinking that, well, my job was to save everybody. My job isn't to save or to convince you or anybody else. That's not my job. My job is to know the Christ within me and to share my experience authentically with the world to the best of my ability. Let the chips fall where they may. People that listen, listen. People that resonate, resonate. People that don't like it, don't like it. And that's all okay. It's all okay. I'm not here to convince anybody. But if you want to hear somebody talk about the Bible in a way that you may not have ever heard, even if you're an atheist, what Bill Donahue shares will probably make some sense to you. Because he isn't talking about the same old-time religion that has a masochistic, sadistic God. It's not like that at all. Mysticism is the real religion. Now, Bill talks about the Bhagavad Gita. He talks about other religions, the same as I do, because Christ is in everything, folks. It's just a word now. It's just a word. He talks about being a real Jew. Just a word. Why? Why is it just a word? Why doesn't it have any special meaning? Because nothing has any special meaning except the meaning we apply to it. The whole thing is knowing and experiencing for ourselves. That's what mysticism is. And anybody that's not a mystic, I don't care which religion they're in, they're just stuck in a religion. It's imprisoning them. The books will imprison you if you think the book is the God. When you make the book an idol, it comes between you and God, and there's a level of separation. Oh, look at that. There's a level of separation that's there that messes everything up. It messes up your relationship, because mysticism is about relationship. It's about knowing. It's about experience. It's not about doctrine and dogma. And Christianity is a non-Christian religion when all it focuses on is doctrine and dogma. That's what imprisons people and puts us in bondage and makes us not love one another. So I was just it was like a breath of fresh air listening to Bill Donahue yesterday. I mean, like a healing balm for my spirit, where I've been focused so much in my mind of what's going on outside, and he reminded me to go back inside more deeply, which I did earlier, and which I will continue to do. Meditation, really, really, really important. If you're a fundamentalist Christian, go give Bill a couple of messages. Just get them under your belt and expose yourself to them. I encourage you to do that. It may surprise you. And then again, you may have a hard heart and not be able to get the message of love and unconditional acceptance in the beloved, because you are the beloved. And that was one of Bill's messages. That was one of Dr. Bruce Morgan's messages. It was Jesus's message. The things that I do, you shall do also, and greater things than these. It's not about looking at me and how great I am. It's about looking at yourself and discovering what's hidden in you, who you really are. Know thyself. To thine own self be true, and as day follows night, thou canst not be false to another. Wake up. When the Bible doesn't make sense, chances are you're not seeing it as a mystic. And if you're seeing it as a fundamentalist, you'll be too mental and you won't have any fun. I can promise you that, because I've experienced it myself. I leave you with these thoughts today, and I thank you once again for listening to this heretic who is happy in his heresies. Thank you very much. Namaste.